The next two tools I want to show you live on the right click context menu and are really useful for speeding up your workflow. So you can see at the moment I'm sitting on the lines layer, that's my current layer, and if I was to draw any object it would be blue and live on the lines layer. However, I want to draw another circle on the circles layer. So the way that I would do this is I would have to come to the drop down, select the circles layer, and then go over to my circles tool and then draw my circle in. A quicker way then is to select the object that you want to add in, right click and go to add selected. And what AutoCAD will do is it will select the same layer, so you can now see that I'm selected on the circles as my current layer, and it's even given me the circles tool, so you can see that I'm now ready to draw a circle. And then when I've finished, it puts me back onto the layer that I was on before. Okay, I'm just going to do another circle, select, right click, add selected, draw the circle, done. The second tool allows me to actually select all the similar objects. So I'm going to select my circle and go to right click and go to select similar. And what this will do is AutoCAD will look for any objects that are the same, so a circle, and live on the circles layer. And there you can see it's picked up all of those objects. And just to prove that that's the case, I'm going to select this circle and just do a few more, just copy those across and change the layer of these, so put them onto the lines layer, and now use the red circle on the circles layer as a select similar function. And you can see it's picked up the circles that are on that layer, but it hasn't picked up the circles that was on the lines layer. If you've ever used layers in Photoshop, then you're probably familiar with the idea of stacking. That is where you can take objects that are placed on different layers and actually move the layers in the panel to place one object on top of the other. In AutoCAD, however, the layers are always listed alphabetically, and so the naming convention that we use is quite critical. The ABTT CAD standards for our industry recommends that you use a prefix number so that layers are grouped together within the departments that they are intended for. For example, you can see here that you would prefix a number 5 for anything to do with LX, or 7 for anything to do with scenic elements. This is a good naming convention and it works particularly well. Here, in this drawing, you can see that I've used words instead of numbers. So I've used the word building or LX to denote every layer that has that item on it so that they group together in the drop down. It doesn't really matter which naming convention you use, just pick one that you like and stick with it. So in order to move objects above or below each other, which we would call the stacking order, in AutoCAD we don't physically move the layer names above or below each other. Instead we use two tools, one called bring to front and one called center back. To demonstrate these tools I'm going to use these three lines, 3 different colours, 3 different thicknesses. I'm going to select the yellow line and move it so that it sits on top of the red line. Now if I wanted to change the stacking order so that the yellow line was on top, I could use the tool bring to front. Select the yellow line, right click, draw order, bring to front. Similarly, I could say center back, so I could actually select the yellow line, right click, draw order, center back, and now it's back behind the red line. Okay, so I'm just going to move the green line so that it sits on top of them both. And let's say that I wanted to move the green line so that it was behind the red line but not behind the yellow line. I could use another tool here that's called Send Under Objects. I can select that, select just the red line and press enter, and now that green line has been sent underneath the red object but not behind the yellow. And there's also a function to do, I'll show you with the yellow line, draw order, bring above objects. So I can select that and say, okay, well I want that to be brought in front of the green line, but not in front of the red. And now you'll see that it's in front of the green, but not in front of the red. There's a whole host of these tools, and they live in the Modify panel drop down, and they live in this icon on the bottom right. Have a go with them and get used to how they work. The next tool I want to show you is something called Selection Cycling. This tool helps us when we have lines drawn on top of lines and we want to select just one particular line. It's never a good idea to draw lines on top of lines when you start drawing, because it will cause havoc when you start to use join and explode. But if you have got them like this, then this tool becomes invaluable. It is this icon down here on the status bar and looks like a green square with a white square behind it and a little cross in the corner. Click on there, and now when we hover and we select a line that is overlapping another line, you can see that it gives us a little pop-up window and we can choose which item we want to select. If we don't use this tool, then by default, by clicking on that line overlapping, it will always select just the top line.